Om Vinayakam Gurum Bhanum Brahma Vishnu Maheshwaran Saraswatim Pranamyado Sarvakaryartha Siddhaye. बोलो प्रथम पूज्य गणेश जी भगवान की जय, सरस्वती माता की जय.
और as you know, it's a podcast. हमारा name है Bliss of Life. I want to know what is your main bliss in your life, apart from the क्या कहते हैं सेवा करनी भगवान की. What else which makes you happy internally?
So what makes me happy, and I have a small advantage here because I have studied in depth हमारे धर्म शास्त्र में what is bliss. In Sanskrit the word bliss is Anandam, and the name of Bhagavan Shri Krishna is.
तो अगर आप like if you can, आपके इष्ट देवता कौन है?
My Ishta Devata.
Namaste everyone, welcome to the episode number 10 of A Bliss of Life. Well, we are at Brampton Triveni Mandir and we are going to have a presence of a head priest with us who will be sharing the spiritual journey as well as experience with us. So I hope you guys will enjoy this episode. Namaste Pandit ji, कैसे हो आप?
नमस्कार जी. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. कैसा चल रही है आपकी लाइफ, कैसी है?
आनंद ही आनंद है.
आनंद ही आनंद है.
Everything is great.
I think so. जब भी मैं किसी spiritual बंदे को मिलती हूँ, like any person I've met, they're like very happy and very intact in their life. Why do you feel so happy? Because you're with God, or like it's an inner happiness?
I think both of those reasons. We do feel happy because we know that हम सदा भगवान के पास है. When you are working in the mandir also, so you're always in this environment जिसमें बहुत ही positive vibrations भी आते हैं. But definitely it is 100% an inner happiness as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much. As हम spiritual podcast we are doing, I would really request you if you can start with the mantra. Any
Sure.
mantra.
Of course. Always when we begin anything, especially any educational undertaking, we always offer prayers to Ganesh Bhagavan, Mata Saraswati. Om Vinayakam Gurum Bhanum Brahma Vishnu Maheshwaran Saraswatim Pranamyado Sarvakaryartha Siddhaye. बोलो प्रथम पूज्य गणेश जी भगवान की जय, सरस्वती माता की जय.
Thank you so much. Well, that was very beautiful. I would love to know if you can introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure.
मैं चाहती हूँ कि लोग आपके साथ connect करें, जाने. If you can please do that.
So my name is Pandit Yudhishthir Dhanraj. I was born in Guyana, South America, but from a very young age we migrated to Canada. So we did our secondary education in Canada. I did a Bachelor of Science at York University also in Canada. And then around that time, our family was part of a group of people who had this undertaking of acquiring Triveni Mandir. So after completing my Bachelor of Science, I went to Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh, Bharat, to study Sanskrit. I left the scientific field and moved to the Sanskrit field. वैसे बचपन से इसी लाइन में थे. My दादाजी, my आजाजी, my grandfather, he was a purohit.
Okay.
My father is a purohit. So I was already doing this, but we went to Kashi because Kashi is वो ज्ञान की नगरी है. It's a city of knowledge, the capital of knowledge. So when you want to study Sanskrit, you have to go to Varanasi to study. So now we've studied there, completed, come back. Now Triveni Mandir is opened. So now I'm here full time as the spiritual leader of Triveni Mandir.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Can you please tell us more about Triveni Mandir? Like why the name was put, and उसके पीछे, what is the meaning behind it?
It's a very beautiful story. Where we are from in Guyana, it is a town called Bartika, and there, right where this town is located, there are 3 rivers. एक संगम है.
Okay.
Rivers' names are Essequibo, Cayuni, and Mazruni.
Okay.
And it's very rare that you have 3 rivers meeting in one place. So the Hindus living in that place, they said, you know what, we do Ganga Mata Puja on Purnima, especially on Ganga, the Shera, Ganga Saptami. They said Ganga Mata is our Ishtadev, Bhagavan Shiva is our Ishtadev. So let us name our mandir Bartika Triveni Mandir. So my mother was born in that town. My father was from a different part of the country, but after marrying my mother, he also moved there. So they grew up in that mandir. Okay. The father became the spiritual leader of that mandir. So when we built this mandir here in Canada, we decided, in recognition of the blessings of Mata Ganga, the kripa, the ashirvad from Bholenath, Bhagavan Shiv, everything came from that place for us. That was the source of our prosperity, and because of that place, this mandir is possible. So from Bartika Triveni Mandir, we named this place Brampton Triveni Mandir.
Okay.
That is why we got the name Triveni,
Okay,
which is
perfect.
in deference to Prayagraj, Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati.
ठीक है, thank you
Yeah.
so much. मेरे को जानना था कि like you mentioned in the starting of the conversation that you're from Guyanese. How Hindu and Guyanese are related to each other?
So the country of Guyana was only civilized when the British Empire came.
Okay.
And then originally they brought slaves from Africa. And then they wanted to get into agriculture. So at that time they were also ruling Bharat, and they saw that Indians were the best when it came to agriculture and farming. So they brought Indians from Bharat to Guyana, Trinidad, few other countries as indentured laborers, not as slaves. They were paid for the work that they did.
Okay.
So on these ships, my ancestors came. It would have been like my great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather. So all of these Hindus came from Bharat to Guyana, and they kept the Satya Sanatan Dharma alive and strong in Guyana. And today, now that we have earned our independence, the British have left, Indians actually are the largest demographic in Guyana, and Hinduism is actually the largest religion in Guyana today. It's very strong in Guyana.
I've met when I was in college. I used to meet a Guyanese, like, you know, they used to talk about the gods like Shivji, Ganeshji. It's like, how do you know? It's like, you know, I didn't know, have knowledge, but thank you so much for giving me that. I want to know, how was your childhood? Like, you know, how did you became the person you are today?
Okay, so my childhood, because my grandfather, my Ajaji, was a Pandit and my father was a Pandit. So we grew up in Mandir.
Okay.
It was never our main profession because there's just not enough scope for work as a full-time Pandit. So my father was also involved in business and these things. But in Guyana, every Sunday morning you go to Mandir. Sunday morning isliye kyunki the British go to church on Sunday morning, so that is the day you have a holiday.
Okay.
So Hindus also go to church on Sunday morning. So growing up in satsang, it was always expected as the single son of a Pandit that I will also become a Pandit. So I learned everything from my childhood: Hindi, Sanskrit, Sangeet, everything. And I did my first yajna at the age of 17, where I read Ramcharitmanas for a multiple session in a Sri Ram Katha. And that is basically how I became a Pandit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you feel like you were always meant to be a Pandit? Not just because your father was, but, you know, inner say, you know, you feel, because there are so many people, you know, my son, daughter, when they don't follow the footstep of their parents, why do you feel you need to, you know, follow that footstep?
It's a very great question. And one thing people always assume when I tell them, you know, I became a Pandit, my father was a Pandit. Oh, Pitaji ne force kiya hoga. Father told you, I'm a Pandit, you have to be also. Pitaji ne kabhi nahi force kiya. He always told me, sab kuch sikho, but what you want to be, that is your decision. But seekhna chahiye. So when you learn these mantras, when you learn Sanskrit at a young age, and then you're exposed to this style of satsang, when you are exposed to this style of where everyone sits together, devotional worship, सब मिल करके भजन करते हैं, जप करते हैं, and then there is a vyas, and then you have the opportunity to become a vyas and sit on a vyas peak and read our dharma shastras to a large group of people. For me personally, that was the most enjoyable thing of my childhood. And even when I went to university, we started learning. We did Bachelor of Science. So जो आनंद सत्संग में मिला, मुझे कभी नहीं मिला यूनिवर्सिटी में, बायोलॉजी में, कैलकुलस में, बायोकेमिस्ट्री. And even though I wanted to go to medical school and become a doctor, when the decision was made to study Sanskrit, I was very happy with that decision. Like science को छोड़ दिया मैंने. I said that I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. When I thought about being in satsang and reading our dharma shastras, that is the only thing that gave me happiness for a long-term decision.
Got it. Thank you. Basically, just for example, आजकल people are, you know, searching for the meaning of the life, you know. उनका when I was very young, I used to question मैं यहाँ पे आई क्या करने हूँ. I used to question myself a lot. And what would you advise to people how they can actually walk onto this path? How would you advise them?
Well, actually, if I borrow a line from our dharma shastra, जीवन का उद्देश्य क्या है? परम तत्व को जानना. The real purpose of life is really to get to know Param Tattva, Paramatma, Param Pita, Parameshwar. to get to know God. All of us are here in this sansar, is prakriti mein. All of us have taken birth here, but the main purpose of this life is to know, is srishti ko kisne banaya, who has made this world. And when you get to know who has made this world, then you get to understand what is the role that he has for us and what is the purpose that he has for us in this life. So I believe that answers your question.
I think so. And what people can do to maintain the work-life balance. क्योंकि मेरे को what I feel like साधना करनी भी important है. पर अगर आप इस दुनिया में आए हो and you are into the sanskrit world, your responsibility is also, you know, your main thing. You need to do it. How one can balance it and what they can do for themselves.
This is a very important question. And I know many spiritual leaders, they tell you, आप जप करो, right? 3-4 माला जप करो, भजन करते रहो, tapasya करो. But they don't sometimes understand the reality of the modern person who has to work. And this is where maybe our experience is more relevant because we grew up doing other work as well, not only being a pandit, doing puja part, doing katha. So to find this balance in life, we believe that the concept of samarpanam, offering everything to God, man, dhan, than, offering your mind, offering your body, offering your wealth, nothing stops you from living your life, studying, doing your job, but we always keep Bhagavan, we always keep God at the front of our lives. There's a very popular example. Doesn't matter how many zeros you have, they have no value. The minute you put a 1 in front, it gives so much value.
Yes.
Bhagavan doesn't take anything from you. He doesn't ask of anything from you also. But when you keep him in front, when you always think about him, whatever you're eating, you say a mantra, Bhagavan, खाने से पहले मैं आपको प्रसाद चढ़ाता हूँ. When you get a paycheck, you say to Bhagavan, Prabhu, ये धन आपका है, आपकी कृपा से मिला है. So these are the small ways you always remember Bhagavan, सदा उनको स्मरण करे. And when you always remember him and you offer everything in your life to him, then I believe even if you don't have time to visit the mandir and take darshan, your spiritual and professional life is in balance. And that balance is maintained.
Okay. थैंक यू. आप जैसे सत्संग की बात कर रहे थे, तो प्लीज़ बताइए कि सत्संग में होता क्या है एंड व्हाई डू यू फेल सो हैप्पी अबाउट इट.
The word satsang, sat means satyam, sang means together. तो सत्य क्या है? In this world, everything that we see, including ये जो हमारे शरीर है, ये सब असत्य है. And it is asatya because one day it degrades and it changes. If somebody ever asks you, satya का अर्थ क्या है? The meaning of satya or satyam means that which never changes. And the only thing that doesn't change is Bhagavan. Unka sat swarupa hai. That's why we call him Satchidananda. So satsang means that gathering which focuses on satyam. And satyam means God. So any gathering where you are discussing Bhagavan, where you are singing his name, or you are just sitting and taking his darshan, that qualifies as satsang. It doesn't even have to be in a mandir. You can have satsang in your home. You can have satsang at your workplace. As long as there is some element of Paramatma involved in that, and the bhav is sattvic, then that is classified as satsang.
Do you feel God and music plays a very important role when it comes to satsang? दोनों एक दूसरे के बिना अधूरे हैं.
100%. Even when you look at the very basis of Satya Sanatan Dharma, 4 Ved, Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Atharva Ved, Sama Ved. One of the Vedas is directly for music, dedicated to music. Especially in our types of satsang, without music, nothing really happens. Even when we chant our Vedic mantras, so even that is chanted on a certain scale, like D sharp or F, and that pitch is maintained. And apart from the Vedic mantras, all of our shlokas, including Sanskrit shlokas, we sing them using music. And we use different rags. When we do the katha of Srimad Bhagavatam, those slokas are all in Sanskrit, but we chant them in a certain rag, depending on the mood of the katha, depending on the time of the day. When we read Ramcharitmanas, so Doha and Chaupai, they're meant to be sang in music. So in our puja here at Triveni Mandir especially, there is a very deep culture of music. All of our worship is entwined with music.
I want to know what is seva and how someone can do a seva.
So there are many beautiful words in Sanskrit that really don't have an English translation. In English we might say volunteering. but seva is much more. Seva means to give back to the community, to your dharam, even to your family. You can do seva at home also. At Triveni Mandir, because we are a temple and we are a non-profit and a charity, so people come here to do seva. Those who are wealthy, they donate extra wealth that they have. Those who have time, so they come and they give their time. They help us to clean the temple. They help us in many different ways. Man, dhan or tan. Sometimes people come and there is nothing to do, and then they just sit in the mandir and they meditate. Ye bhi ek seva hai, because you're adding to the ambiance of the temple. You're adding to the power of the mandir. Every tirth sthan, every mandir has siddhi, and the more tapasya you do, the more prayers you do, the siddhi increases. So people come and do many different things, and the seva is a very important concept, especially in Satya Sanatan Dharma, in Hinduism, where we believe that we are always trying to do some kind of punya and get some kind of blessings that will help us, if not in this life, but in the next life. So seva is one of the easiest and largest sources of punya.
Do you think seva also one can अपने कर्म को वो कम कर सकते हैं through the sevas, what they have created?
The concept of karma, which is then split into papa karma and punya, is a very deep subject. Technically, according to our dharma shastras, whenever we have committed any bad actions, let's just use the word pap. So we cannot do anything to remove that pap from our history, but when we do good actions like satkarma, seva, then the punya that we accumulate from that helps to make the negative effect of our pap smaller. It helps to reduce our suffering. So seva definitely is something that brings relief to someone's life, and even if it's not being done to reduce bad actions we've done before, it still gives you blessings and increases your satkarma.
Do you think the effect is decreased? Like उतना ज़्यादा effect नहीं करेगा अगर वो चीज़ नहीं होती, but effect थोड़ा कम हो जाएगा. करना पड़ेगा, but थोड़ा कम effect हो जाएगा.
If we start to look exactly how much we did, how much is going to be decrease, increase, ये सब भगवान के हाथ में है. We don't know like 1 + 1 = 2 when it comes to karmic law, but every action has some kind of fruit attached to it. Whether it's a negative fruit, positive fruit. Some actions are negative, it's called akarma. It doesn't give you pap, it doesn't give you punya, obligatory action. But definitely seva is the largest source of punya that people can incur in this life.
Perfect, thank you. Or as you know, it's a podcast, हमारा name है Bliss of Life. I want to know what is your main bliss in your life, apart from, you know, the क्या कहते हैं सेवा करनी भगवान की. What else which makes you happy internally?
So what makes me happy, and I have a small advantage here because I have studied in depth हमारे धर्म शास्त्र में what is bliss. In Sanskrit, the word bliss is Anandam, and the name of Bhagavan Shri Krishna is Satchidananda, Sata Swarup, Chaitanya Swarup, Ananda Swarup. So in our dharma shastra, it says that there are many different types of happiness. Sukh, जिसको हम कहते हैं, लेकिन सुख में और आनंद में बहुत अंतर है. There's a difference between happiness and bliss. So your podcast is called The Bliss of Life. Anand kya hai? Many different things give us happiness in this life. Food gives you happiness.
Yes.
When you are very hungry and you have a nice plate of food in front of you, the happiness you feel in the first bite, by the time you have the 10th bite, as your stomach gets more and more filled, that happiness decreases. When you buy a new car, the happiness you feel in the first few days, 6 months later, 1 year later, you don't feel that much happiness, right? Even जो लोग शादी करते हैं, the happiness they have in the first few years, it goes down and it goes down as the reality sets in. तो ये सब सुख है, और सुख को हम भोगते हैं. We enjoy happiness. Anandam is a part of divine quality, which comes from divine source. Anandam is something that is permanent. And one of the definitions of Bhagavan Sri Ram's name, Ananda Sindhu Sukharashi, the one who gives Anandam, the true source of bliss, has to be divine, has to be spiritual. Real bliss, real Anandam comes only from a divine source. So for me, I feel like I am very lucky that my life is filled with Anandam because I am very closely connected to the divine through Dharma Shastra. I'm constantly reading Dharma Shastra for my own studies, and then I'm constantly expounding Dharma Shastra on the Vyaspeed to audience. So I'm always engaged with our Shastras. I always see for myself up close the Leela of Bhagavan, his stories, his Katha. So for other people, I would encourage them. You may have different sources of happiness in your life. Many different things make you happy. But if you truly want that everlasting bliss, जो असली आनंद होता है, then you have to form some kind of connection with the divine. That is the only way to get true bliss, true anandam.
That was very very beautiful. आपको लगता है कि for example you are you were in that environment from a very young age. Do you think it also your past life that you were practicing divine energy, God, हमेशा आप कर रहे थे वो? आपको लगता है कि उसकी वजह से you are in the place where you are right now?
100%, and that is just based on law of karma. When you look at someone's Janma Kundali, when you study Jyotish Shastra, so based on your previous karma, you are placed into a parivar, you are placed into a sthan. Nobody is born by accident in any place, in any family. So where you are born, when you are born, to which parents you are born, ये सब आपके कर्म की वजह से है. And that karma also plays a part in creating your स्वभाव. आपका स्वभाव पिछले जन्म के कर्म से बनता है. Your nature is made from your previous karma as well. But your environment that you're in, I would say it's 50% karma and 50% environment. That also plays a factor in how you're brought up and what you like. So I believe I had natural tendencies with Sanatan Dharam, but definitely being brought up in the mandir scene, always in satsang, that definitely helped reinforce that. So even children who are not naturally inclined to our religion and to meditation, satsang, these kinds of things, don't give up. Keep taking them to mandir, keep taking them to satsang. Man banega, right? They will get the habits and then they will slowly start to enjoy, and then they will be put on the right path.
अगर आप like if you can, आपके इष्ट देवता कौन है?
My Ishta Devata is Bhagavan Shiva, and that comes because we grew up in Triveni Mandir. तो माता गंगा वो हमारे महादेव की जटा में रहती है. She sits in the jata of Bhagavan Shiva. So you cannot separate Ganga Mata from Bhagavan Shiva. And then we always loved Varanasi. I went to Varanasi to study as well. So even though I really love Bhagavan Vishnu, Bhagavan Shri Krishna, Bhagavan Shri Ram, और मैं इनकी बहुत कथा भी सुनाता हूँ, I still have to say my Ishtadev is Mahadev, Devadidev Mahadev.
My Ishta Devta is also Mahadev. Like I was लाइफ में मेरे डिफरेंट डेटी आए हैं और गए हैं. डू यू फील लाइक इट हैपन्स विद मेजॉरिटी ऑफ पीपल, लाइक यूर इंक्लाइंड टुवर्ड्स वन डिवाइन, देन इट कैन, then you're inclined towards another divine. It's also because of the character, like आपकी लाइफ में सिचुएशन चेंज होते रहते हैं. Do you also think it is क्योंकि इष्ट देवता आपके बदलते रहते हैं, they come and go, कि वो एक ही थ्रू आउट में आपके मेन इष्ट देवता एक ही रहते हैं?
Maybe based on different periods in our life, if we are going through different अलग-अलग परिस्थितियां जब होती है, तो maybe you associate with a different deity at different parts of your life. But I think once we understand the concept of Ishtadev, Ishta क्या होता है? Many people choose an Ishtadev when they are very young, और Ishta का समझ में नहीं आता है. So that is why the Ishtadev changes. Once you understand कि Ishtadev क्या होता है, and at a mature age, जब आप बिल्कुल समझदार हो, if you select the Ishtadev at that age, तो फिर वो कभी बदलेगा नहीं. That remains always. Doesn't mean you सबको माने, right? Worship everyone, सबकी पूजा करो, सबकी जप भी करो. But people always ask me, how do you know who's your Ishtadev? I give them one simple situation. When you're driving the car, if somebody cuts you off and you're about to be in an accident, तो किसकी नाम याद आता है? Whose name do you call in that moment? वो आपके इष्टदेव है.
वो मतलब that's your inner instinct, which comes up.
Exactly. When you don't have time to think, right? Whose name do you remember? किसकी रूप आपके मन में आता है, right? Whose form do you see? वो आपके इष्टदेव है.
मेरे को जानना है, like people who want to find their इष्ट देवता, how they can find it? What things they can do? कैसे पता चलेगा उनको?
तो एक्चुअली हम जो करते हैं, whenever any child or any adult also, when they come and say कि पंडित जी गुरु दीक्षा लेना है आपसे, we want to have a guru mantra from you. तो गुरु दीक्षा मंत्र is given based on your इष्ट देव. Sometimes they say हमारे इष्ट देव तो हमको पता नहीं है, right? What is इष्ट देव? What is the concept? So the advice I give to them is, I tell them you have to come to Mandir, you have to be engaged in satsang, and while you are sitting in Mandir, while you are chanting bhajans, do any of these deities, do any of these roop, alag roop of Bhagavan or Devi, do they speak to you? And especially when you listen to Katha, when you listen to Mahashiv Puran Katha, do you feel like you associate more with Bhagavan Shiv? When you listen to Sri Bhagavatam, when you listen to Ramcharitmanas, based on this, sometimes you can pick your Ishtadev. I have a few shishyas, few in Canada and some in Guyana, and they were all young children. And when they came to me, तो सबसे पहले कुंडली देख के बताते हैं कि ये आपका इष्ट हो सकता है. But based on their inclinations, when they sing their bhajans, when they listen to katha, then they tell me, okay, I think this can be my ishtadev, and then I give them mantra for that deity or that devata ya devi.
Can you please share what is your spiritual philosophy?
Definitely. There are many different spiritual philosophies. Some people, they focus only on japam, some do kator tapasya. My spiritual philosophy, because I grew up in a home with katha vachaks, so my spiritual philosophy is bhakti marg or prema marg. Bhakti marg basically means path of devotion, and we really believe that through katha, by listening to the leela of Bhagavan, shravan karne se, लोगों की भक्ति बढ़ जाते हैं और लोग भगत भी बन जाते हैं. In fact, that is the meaning of Bhagavad Puran. Bhagavat means भगवान और भागवत means the भक्त of भगवान. तो ये जो पुराण है ये भक्तों के लिए है. So to increase bhakti in our life, to increase devotion in our life, that indirectly always leads to prema marg. When I was in Varanasi, I was privileged to visit Vrindavan and spend some time in Vrindavan. So there I saw prema marg. भगवान के जो रसिक होते हैं, सो दे सी भगवान प्योरली जैसे हमारे प्रियतम है. हम एक प्रेमी है और भगवान हमारे प्रियतम है. दे डोंट इवन केयर अबाउट ज्ञान, दे डोंट इवन केयर अबाउट संस्कृत. भगवान को बस एज अ प्रियतम देखते हैं. सो भक्ति मार्ग और प्रेम मार्ग, दीज आर आवर टू मेन स्पिरिचुअल फिलॉसफीज.
आपने मेंशन किया था इन द स्टार्टिंग ऑफ द कॉन्वर्जेशन में कि आप काशी आते जाते रहते थे, राइट? एंड इट्स नोन एज अ कैपिटल ऑफ नॉलेज. प्लीज़ आप बताइए ऐसा क्यों बोला जाता है एंड व्हाई, व्हाट वाज योर एक्सपीरियंस?
So first of all, Varanasi is known as the capital of knowledge. Obviously now, because there are two great universities, BHU, Banaras Hindu University, and Sampurnananda Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya. That is where I did my studies.
Okay.
But it has become the capital of knowledge even in the ancient Vedic times, because this is the city of Bhagavan Shiva. This is the city of Bhagavan Shiva that was created by Bhagavan Shiva, and it is a part of Kailash Dham that Bhagavan Shiva placed in Prithvi Lok. अर्थात ये ब्रह्मा जी ने नहीं बनाए. वैष्णव मानते हैं कि ब्रह्मा जी ने वृंदावन को, गोवर्धन को और यमुना जी को नहीं बनाए. एंड जो लोग भगवान शिव के भक्त होते हैं, दे बिलीव दैट ब्रह्मा जी डिड नॉट क्रिएट काशी, दैट वाज क्रिएटेड बाय भगवान शिवा. All of the great saints and sages, for this reason, they would come to Varanasi. And when you have the great saints and sages doing tapasya there, they are where the knowledge comes from. There was a great saint called Panini. And Panini ji, he was not the most intelligent sage. And he did tapasya to Bhagavan Shiva. When Bhagavan Shiva appeared in front of him, he said, Bholenath, मुझे ज्ञान चाहिए. So Bhagavan Shiva played his damru. There was a famous shloka, Nritavasane Nataraj Rajo. When Bhagavan Shiva played his damru, 14 syllables came out of that damru. There were many sages sitting there, and all of them heard something different. Whoever interested in music, they heard Sangeet. Whoever interested in yoga, tapasya, meditation, they heard that knowledge. Panini ji, he heard the 14 sutras of Sanskrit, and he made what is known as Panini Vyakaran. The 14 sutras, he made a complete grammatical system of Sanskrit that is used today. And because of this reason, the knowledge of Sanskrit, mainly in the ancient time, Kashi mein hi upalabdha tha. So all of the students will come to Varanasi to learn and to get knowledge.
I want to know, like you mentioned about the Sanskrit. What is the take on uski importance kya hai? What is the importance in this modern era? What is the importance of Sanskrit nowadays?
This is a very, very nice question. When I was studying in Varanasi, originally I thought I'm only going for a few years, just do a diploma or maybe a degree. And in the end, I fell in love with Sanskrit, so I did my PhD also. And one thing that I can tell you is Sanskrit, Dev Bhasha hai. It is the language of the gods. We are conversing in English. Hindi में भी बात कर सकते हैं. तो the bhasha in which Devendra communicates with all of the other devatas. When they go to Bhagavan Vishnu, Bhagavan Shiva, that is Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the link between us and Paramatma. Sanskrit is the communication that we can talk to Bhagavan. That is why all of our mantras, all of these prayers, they're in Sanskrit. We can always speak to Bhagavan in any language, but these mantras, ये सारे मंत्र ये सब सिद्ध हो गए. और एक मंत्र कैसे सिद्ध हो जाता है? When the great saints and sages chant this mantra thousands of times, जब हमरा जप करते हैं तो एक मंत्र सिद्ध हो जाता है. And these mantras are all in Sanskrit. That's how we speak to Bhagavan. That is how we can get the blessings from him.
Yes, you are wearing a very beautiful mala, Rudraksh ki. And how, like, I see people wearing it. What is the importance of that, and what is the procedure how someone can wear a Rudraksh?
So Rudraksh Mala is very important, especially for Bhagavan Shiva and those who are following Bhagavan Shiva. And there are two types of Rudraksh you should have. एक पहनने के लिए और एक जप करने के लिए है. Many people don't realize, but the same mala that you wear should be different from the mala you are using for japam. You sometimes see with a small bag, उसमें माला रखे हैं, लोग जप करते हैं. That never leaves that location. You never wear that on your body. So this mala that I'm wearing, I got this in Mahakaleshwar, Ujjain, and it's one of the malas blessed at that Jyotirlingam. And this mala I wear ornamentally. ये लोगों के लिए like a suraksha kavach ban jata hai. It becomes like a protective shield against the world. But the malas we use for jap, that you don't even show to the world, and you're not supposed to give to anyone as well. That mala holds the remnants of your punya as well. If you give someone the mala that you're using to do japam with, it's like you're giving them your punya. तो वो सदा आपके पास होना चाहिए.
मैं देखती हूँ जब भी हम किसी टेम्पल में या इस टेम्पल में हमने जब एंटर किया, लाइक जो डेटी है वो अलग अलग डेटी एक स्पेसिफिक लोकेशंस पे होते हैं. व्हाट इज़ द रीज़न बिहाइंड इट कि उसको उसी जगह पे उनको विराजमान किया जाता है?
So one branch of Jyotish Shastra is called Vastu Jyotish. And usually when we build any devalaya, any mandir, so we place these devis and devatas in the correct directions and these kinds of things. When we sit in the mandir, usually we want to look into Ishan Kon. Ishan Kon is the northeast quadrant. Ishan Kon mein Swarga hai. That is the direction where all the devatas reside. So we want to face that direction. So the devatas then, they will naturally face more of a western direction. We always put Ganeshji's murti at the very beginning. He is known as Pratham Puja Ganeshji Bhagavan. And in Triveni Mandir, as soon as you go onto the altar, Ganeshji is there at the beginning. As we move along in a clockwise way, all of the Devis are on that corner. Durga Devi, Saraswati Ji, Mahalakshmi Maya. Then we have Bhagavan Vishnu and all of his avatars in the back. Bhagavan Satyanarayan, Bhagavan Shri Krishna, Bhagavan Shri Ram. As we come back to the front, then we have Bhagavan Shiva, and then we have Mata Ganga, Ishtadevi, and Hanumanji at the very end. We always begin our puja with Ganeshji Bhagavan, and we always conclude our puja with Hanumanji. And then of course we have the Shivalingam. When it comes to the Shivalingam, the main rule that we always follow is Shivalingam always faces a northern direction. Other than that, unke samne ek Nandiji बैठ जाता है, and everything else is just according to your convenience.
And why we start from Ganeshji se start karna, but why we end with Hanumanji? I have no idea about that.
There is a very beautiful story that Bhagavan Shiva, everybody knows he has two sons, Ganeshji or Kartikeya. But actually he has three sons. Hanumanji is also like the son of Bhagavan Shiva, Shankar Suvan Kesari Nandan. So in our parampara, which is mostly North Indian puja style of worship, that is how we always do it. We begin with one son of Bhagavan Shiva, and we end with one son of Bhagavan Shiva, Ganeshji or Hanumanji. That is why on the outside murals as well, Ganesh ji is there on one side, Hanuman ji is there on the other side.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's also kind of a protect, like a complete circle.
A complete circle, yes.
जैसे बोला जाता है कि life and death, they're like, you know, one and the same thing. What is your thought about it?
It's a very complicated question, but the answer is very simple. The biggest issue is मृत्यु से लोगों को बहुत भय लगते हैं. People are very scared of death. And you're only scared of something when you do not understand it. When you know, when you walk into a dark room and it's obviously you can't see anything, तो आपको भय लगता है कि यहाँ कौन बैठा होगा, what will be there. And as soon as you turn on the lights, as soon as you see the room is empty, तो आपका भय भी समाप्त हो जाता है. So understanding death, the first thing we have to do is to remove fear. And the only way to remove fear is to understand death is not the end of any journey. When you have a straight line, if you bend this line and touch the starting and ending point together, so naturally it will make a circle. So in a circle, where is the beginning, where is the end? There is no definitive point. So birth is not the beginning always, and death is not always the end. Same way the sun sets and rises, sets again, rises again. The same way when we are born, mrityu nishchit hai. And when we die, unless you obtain moksha, so janam lena bhi nishchit hai. You have to take rebirth. So once that fear is removed, and once you have some level of vairagya, detachment from your worldly possessions, then people stop fearing death and they understand it's all part of the journey. Is lok se parlok jaoge, you'll spend some time in Swarg, maybe in Patal. If you are a great devotee of Bhagavan, you'll go to his dham, chahe Kailash dham, Vaikuntha dham, Sakit dham, Golok. And then when your punya is finished, you come back into Prithvi Lok and we start again.
And आपने कभी, have you ever think about death कि कभी अपनी death के बारे में? Because I think about a lot. I don't know why I think, but I do think. What is your thought about that? कि like बहुत लोग डरते भी हैं, बहुत लोग सोचते भी हाँ कैसे मरेंगे. कई लोगों की like sleep में ही death हो जाती है. Do you think it's something connected with their karma and how they have think about it?
There is a small link to karma. When you analyze someone's Janma Kundali, for example, Ashtama Bhav se हम मृत्यु की दशा देख सकते हैं. And sometimes you can see when is a person more likely to die. Sometimes Panditji will tell you, you have a difficult year coming up. इसमें आपका स्वास्थ्य बहुत खराब हो जाएगा. If you can survive this year, then for the next 20 years, you'll have no health issues. So sometimes you have higher periods of life where you can die, and sometimes you have akala mrityu also. Sometimes you have untimely death, and that can catch you completely by surprise. आपको मरना नहीं था, but because of some mistake, because of some action, because of some external factor, akala mrityu हो गई. People are always scared about this because they feel like I haven't accomplished enough, I haven't done enough. या लोग मेरे ऊपर depend करते हैं, घर वाले depend करते हैं. If I go, what happens to them? All of this fear, it's very difficult to overcome it. But bhakti, gyan or vairagya, when devotion is there, then you become more attached to Bhagavan. When bhakti is there, when gyan is there, you understand what is death and you stop fearing. And when vairagya comes, then you detach yourself from the world also and you accept death as a natural part of the next stage of life.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much, Panditji. You mentioned about moksha. I want to know that how someone, like a common person, how someone can get out of the birth, life and death cycle. How they can get the moksha.
So the answer is in the question. The only way to exit this cycle of birth, life and death is through moksha. Otherwise, we're consistently being brought back into this cycle. The one thing we have to understand about moksha, which is the biggest misconception the world has, everybody thinks moksha is obtained when you die. But the reality is moksha is obtained before you die. For the simple law that karma keval is prithvi bhumi pe lagte hai. You cannot do any karma after you die. There is no accumulation of pap or accumulation of punya after dying. Only on Prithvi Lok. So it means that naturally moksha also has to be achieved here on Prithvi Lok. How to get moksha? That is the $1 million question. If we knew that question, then sabko moksha milega kal hi. But it can be something so small. or it can be something very large deed as well. Even this morning we were listening to the Katha of Jatayu, when he saw Ravan taking away Janki ji. So he didn't know at that time कि ये सीता जी है, ये भगवान श्री राम की धर्मपत्नी. He just saw that some helpless lady is being taken away. Immediately he went to fight, knowing that this is Lankesh, Lankapati Ravan, most powerful warrior in the world. Knowing that he will die, he gives his life. Ravana cuts off his wings. As he is dying, Bhagavan Sri Ram reaches there and he gets to die at the feet of Bhagavan Sri Ram. Giving your life in such a high level of sacrifice, giving your life for somebody else, giving your life for your country, giving your life for dharma. This is one of the most famous ways of getting moksha. But even any act of balidan, any act of sacrifice can put you on that path. But it'll be situation specific and it'll depend on the person.
Thank you so much for this beautiful answer. I want to know, as we are, coming to the end of the podcast, आप कुछ last में कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे? Any mantra, anything you want to share with the audience, like with the end?
One thing I would like to share with everyone listening is that in this Prithvi Lok, there are a few very powerful places, and we call them Tirthasthan. And sometimes we feel like, oh, I'm doing so much jap, I'm doing so much tapasya, I'm doing so much sadhana. वहाँ जाने की क्या ज़रूरत है? मैं यहाँ भी बैठ के भगवान की जप करूँगा. भगवान को सब स्वीकार है. भगवान accepts all of our puja. But always believe in the power of Tirthasthan and संतों के दर्शन. And these two things केवल भारत देश में उपलब्ध है. So I want to always encourage people, go to Bharat, go to Tirthasthan, darshan kariye, go to Mahakumbh Mela and take the darshan of the saints, touch their feet and take their blessings. These two things, ये देवताओं भी तरसते हैं स्वर्ग में बैठ करके. They see what we have here in Prithvi Lok and they also wish to gain the benefit from this.
Okay.
So always try to implement that in your life and you will see a change. You will see the extra kripa, the ashirvad that you get from those places. It'll make a change in your life.
Thank you so much again. Thank you. As we are coming to the end of the podcast, ये आपके लिए है. It's just for you.
Wow.
It's basically I did paint. It's a small gift from a bliss of life. Just a memory so that you remember us and in good thoughts basically.
Ati Sundaram. And you know that Bhagwan Shiva is very close to me because I spent time in Varanasi as well. हमारे इष्टदेव भी है. तो चलिए, I'll do one shlok for you as we conclude, and it'll have to be for Bhagwan Shiva. In Varanasi, there is an ashtakam called Vishwanath Ashtakam, and the Jyotirlingam in Varanasi is called Kashi Vishwanath. So we'll just do the first shloka of that ashtakam.
Okay.
Om Ganga Tarangaramani Jata Kalapam Gauri Nirantar Vibhushitvam Bhagam Narayana Premadangamadapaharam Varanasi Purupatim Bhaja Vishwanatham. बोलो काशी विश्वनाथ भगवान की
जय. हर हर महादेव.
हर हर महादेव.
Thank you so much, Pandit ji, for again coming to the show and giving the blessing and the time. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It was my honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. तो कैसा लगा ये एपिसोड? आई होप जितना मेरे को एक फीलिंग ऑफ कंटेंट हो रहा है, आपको भी सेम वैसी एनर्जी मिली हो. ये जब भी मैं एक स्पिरिचुअल पॉडकास्ट शूट करती हूँ, इट्स एक्सट्रीमली स्पेशल एंड इट फील्स लाइक होमली, दैट आई एम जस्ट in that zone. So thank you again so much for watching this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and please don't forget to subscribe our channel, which is a bliss of life. And अपना प्यार देते जाइए जैसे आप दे रहे थे, and please share with your friends and family. And thank you so much for watching again. Lots of love.